This is what we mean when we say the left is detached from reality. 5 months ago, the DNC convention, I believe it was 5 months ago, Michelle Obama gave this groundbreaking speech, and she was sitting here propagating all kinds of lies and just narrative spinning to try and make the left and make her seem like she's this amazing person who wants to fight for the rights of all Americans, specifically Black Americans, because you know how oppressed we are in this day and age. Well, Megyn Kelly completely dog walks her and calls out all her BS lies and gives reasons for why she's being a liar, specifically in her own personal life and just what she's been saying throughout the whole speech and what the Obamas have been saying for their whole political run, which has just been divisive and has been not helpful to uniting the American people. But before we get into that, I want to remind you guys to subscribe to Resist the Mainstream, because it ensures the YouTube that you are enjoying our videos, and in turn they'll continually show up in your feed and they'll push it out to more people. I'm Titus. Let's get into this video.
Well, last night was night 2 of the Democratic National Convention, and the Democrats rolled out their biggest stars, their heaviest hitters, Michelle and Barack Obama, who were clearly put on Tuesday to enthuse their voters, but also to keep them far enough away from Kamala's remarks on Thursday that no one's thinking about the contrast in ability. And boy, do the Obamas have ability. They're great speakers, great, at least on prompter. They can read speeches other people wrote for them with all of the appropriate dramatics, tone, moments of emphasis, and it helps when you start out already a god before the audience that you are addressing, right? You go in there with such goodwill. They're ready. Whatever you say, you could have been like, pineapple, pineapple. They'd be cheering the same way. But they were substantive. That you can't take away.
We're going to be honest. Same thing would happen with Trump. Trump could say pineapple, pineapple, and some of these crazy MAGA supporters would be like, yeah, no, I'm... So like, I get it. She's right. They're equal. The equivalents are the same. In terms of how the Obamas can just do no wrong and they can say pineapple and everyone will freak out. But if we're going to be objective and honest here, so would MAGA supporters. Not everyone, but some of them would. The difference being, obviously, we think Trump's going to be good for the country, is a net positive. Meanwhile, the Obamas are bad for the country. And so I understand the frustration because they're not saying anything of substance or anything that's actually helpful to the country. And yet they're going to be like, yes, apples. But Trump's pineapples would be good pineapples. They wouldn't be expired. They'd actually be healthy and good for you, just like he's good for our country. Anyways, let's get back to the video.
Whether they were truthful is a different story. And of course, the obvious dynamic there last night was that many of the problems they were lamenting went unsolved and were even exacerbated during Barack Obama's 8 years as president. Not to mention later again when his vice president, Joe Biden, became the top dog. All right, Michelle Obama is going to be my focus. We'll get to Barack Obama too, but let's just start with Michelle. She was the star. With all due respect to Barack Obama, who's no slouch when it comes to oratory, she was the star. Normally, you have to pay $750,000 to hear her read a speech, but last night we got her for free. And she started out with a hefty dose of honesty.
We're feeling it here in this arena, but it's spreading all across this country we love. A familiar feeling that's been buried too deep for far too long. You know what I'm talking about. It's the contagious power of hope. The anticipation, the energy, the exhilaration of once again being on the cusp of a brighter day. The chance to vanquish the demons of fear, division, and hate that have consumed us. America, hope is making a comeback.
Yeah, before Megyn Kelly says anything about this, I just want to point out, at this time when Michelle is making this speech, Biden and Harris are the current administration running the country. Biden and Harris, the person she's trying to say is going to bring this hope back. But if we're in a place that's not hopeful, then wouldn't that be at the fault of the current administration? Like, that's confusing to me, because you can't say, it's like when Tim Walz says we can't go back, or or even Kamala, we can't go back. You're what we'd be going back to, because we're currently dealing with all the problems that are like. Do you not see what's happening here? Megyn Kelly doesn't have to expose it right now. You're exposing yourselves. Hope is coming back. Hope is, so we're not hopeful now. So the times we're living in aren't good. Things are bad. Who's running our country? I'm pretty sure it's Joseph. Second, or honestly, if we're being real honest, it probably is Kamala, because we all know Joseph was not there. So hope is coming back. We're not hopeful right now. We're in dark times. The economy is not good. Border's not secure. People can't afford anything. Gas is super expensive. And yet we have something to look forward to. We have hope for the future. You're speaking at the DNC on behalf of Kamala Harris after the coup that got Biden out. I'm so confused. Why aren't we hopeful? And what are we hopeful for? Because Kamala Harris is just an extension of the current administration. She's actually part of it, and she would just be continuing it. Shouldn't it be, we need to continue on this amazing run we've had? Shouldn't it be like we've made so many strides in pushing the country forward and making life better for Americans, and we just need to continue the hope that we've already received with this current administration? No, hope is coming back when we don't have it. So what are you talking about, Michelle? Interesting.
It doesn't seem like she's been enjoying the Biden-Harris year so much. You're not alone, Michelle. But why? Why is she feeling so hopeless? Honestly, sincere question. Why is Michelle Obama so hopeless? This multimillionaire who went to Princeton and Harvard Law School, who became First Lady of the United States, who thought so much of herself, she called her own memoir Becoming, double entendre, get it? That she's hopeless? Makes sense, since she said it wasn't until her husband was nominated for president that she'd ever felt proud of her country. So she's got a bit of a negative Nelly problem privately. It seems unless Michelle and Barack are being actively adored and lavished with praise and accomplishments, she gets a little bitter. Then she ended any doubt that Barack Obama was maneuvering behind the scenes to oust Joe Biden, which we knew, but they haven't admitted it explicitly. This is as close as we're going to get. Take a listen to how she's been feeling about Mr. Biden's candidacy.
To be honest, I am realizing that until recently, I have mourned the dimming of that hope. And maybe you've experienced the same feelings. Is that deep pit in my stomach, a palpable sense of dread about the future?
Oh, wow. Thanks a lot, Michelle. Sure, that's what the Bidens were thinking. Not exactly a ringing endorsement of our sitting president. And what are the odds, for those of you still wondering what hand Obama had in this coup or this ouster, that Michelle Obama kept her feelings to herself, or that her husband didn't share in them, or that her husband saw Joe Biden's chances as absolutely terrific? All right. Anyway, they're happy now. Joyful, even. Word of the night, of the convention, of the election. Joyful. And of course, on brand, hopeful. They are the party of hope and joy. Hope and joy. Got it? Pay no attention to the babies being aborted outside of their convention. That's also hopeful and joyful. She tried to set herself up as someone we can all relate to. Just a working class girl from the south side of Chicago who comes from a line of people suspicious of rich fat cats. Listen to this bit about her mom.
You see, my mom, in her steady, quiet way, lived out that striving sense of hope every single day of her life.
Well, you know, before she finishes, what you're about to witness is the craziest thing that could ever be said by somebody. Talking about what her mom said, and then Megyn Kelly is going to go into the utter hypocrisy, the complete lack of self-awareness of your own experience in your own life. It's baffling. And just the straight up, honestly, like tyrannical, like dictatorial, I don't know, like mentality that the Obamas have. It's mind-blowing. And I need you to think about that before you hear Michelle Obama say what she's about to say, because it's actually crazy.
She believed that all children, all people have value, that anyone can succeed if given the opportunity.
Which we have.
She and my father didn't aspire to be wealthy. In fact, they were suspicious of folks who took more than they needed.
Okay.
Folks who took more than they needed. Sounds kind of communist-y, Michelle. Later in the speech, she accused Republicans of, quote, prioritizing building their wealth over ensuring that everyone has enough. See, Michelle and Kamala want to decide when you have enough. How much wealth is enough for you? And it's not until others have enough. But in America, we encourage people to work hard on the promise that anything is possible. The American dream is you can make more of your life than you started out with. There's no addendum that says, once you have what, quote, you need, what the government deems, quote, enough, you need to stop, per the U.S. government. This is just like her husband. Remember Joe the plumber in 2008? That story dominated the news cycle for weeks, months even. Poor Joe died an early death at age 49 years later. But in 2008, he was the news cycle because he confronted Barack Obama on a rope line about the fact that he worked very hard for over a decade to build his business. And now that he was just starting to edge up, he was looking at expanding, he was about to get hit with a Barack Obama tax, an additional tax increase. And they had this exchange on a rope line and where he asked Barack Obama, then candidate Barack Obama, about this tax hike. And Obama defended his tax hike, saying he wants to spread the wealth around. He wanted plumbers like Joe to pay for other people. Barack Obama later admitted on camera that, quote, I do think at a certain point you've made enough money. That's how these people think. They adorn this principle in nice language like, we need to make sure everyone has enough. And what they mean is they need to take money from the people who have worked hard and succeeded and give it to others who may not have worked hard in comparison, who may have not have done anything. Yes, there may be some people who have fallen on hard times, and we have a social safety net for them. But this mindset is a little socialistic. That's the truth. And that's why Tim Walz, by the way, is the perfect running mate for Kamala. So how much is enough money, according to the Obamas? 70 million? Because public reports estimate that that is their net worth, parlayed on the back of Barack Obama's 14 years of holding political office. He did not spend 50 years in government service. He did a stint in the Illinois State Senate. He did a couple years in the U.S. Senate before he ran for office and won. All right. Then he did 2 terms as president. And off of that, he's made himself over $100 million, almost $100 million, probably over, to be honest. We don't know all of the earnings. The Obamas reportedly own 4 luxury properties. A home in Martha's Vineyard, estimated to be worth some $20 million bucks. In addition to properties in Washington, D.C., reportedly bought for $8.1 million, a beachfront home in Hawaii, reportedly bought for $8.7 million, and a home bought in Chicago for $1.65 million. Is that more than you need, Mr. Obama, Mrs. Obama?
And that's what's absolutely insane. You want to put restrictions, regulations on how much money people make. And if they make so much money, their fair share, right? The rich people need to give their fair share, which is such a weird thing. Like, to imagine like having all this money and someone says, well, you need to give your fair share, like give me some money, or like who gets to determine that? Why would the government get to be able to determine what you do with your own money? Now, I'm not going to say there's like billionaire, like oligarchs who don't actually want to, that are scummy and they're doing and should give their employees more money, like lift wages with inflation. I don't know. There's a whole thing. I'm not someone who is incredibly knowledgeable on how that whole process works. I have a friend who actually opened my eyes to some of the stuff that some of these people do that is sketchy. That being said, you have no right to tell people what they can do with their own money. And then at what point do you get to choose how rich they are and how much, who's going to regulate how rich people can be? Because then that's a slippery slope too. Because you yourself, Obamas are worth over probably 100 million or 70 million on the books. Like, you have millions of dollars on homes. And then you have the audacity, Michelle, to say, my parents, my mom always talked about people shouldn't be taking more than what they need. You don't need 4 houses, $20 million, $8 million, $8 million, or $1.7 million for each individual house that you have. You only need 1. You're just with your husband, which I heard it's rocky right now. It might be with Jennifer Aniston or something, I don't know. But that's insane. In what world do you need 4 houses? You're taking more than what you need, but you have all these issues with Trump. Oh, he's a billionaire though. Just because he's way richer than you, he should give a fair share, but you, no? Give away a house. Honestly, one of your houses should be like designated to all these illegal immigrants you want to sit there and keep in the country. How are you so out of touch? How are you so detached from reality? You can introspectively look at your own life, realize what you have, how privileged you are. And then say that stuff again about how the rich people need to give away all their money, how give their fair share. You're literally taking a house away from someone, 3 houses away from people. It's like, what? Unless I'm missing something, please someone explain this to me, because that blows my mind. Obamas are such hypocrites. Hypocrites to the T. And you have been exposed. Thank you, Megyn Kelly. it blows my mind. But if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to comment down your thoughts below. I want to know what you guys are thinking on this. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, comment. I need to see what your thoughts are on Obama's. But I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.